This video is on adding and subtracting rational numbers. Here we're given some boxes to where we can add and subtract. Mr. Irwin is reviewing how to add and subtract decimals with his students. Help Mr. Irwin by solving the problems below. We can place these in. You get your graph paper for check-ins and EOGs, and you can line up your decimals that way. And then we can add these together. So that would be 5. 9 and 7 is 16. Carry my 1. 6, 7, 8, and 9. 5 and 3 is 8. And then bring down my 1. So 189.65. Now here we've got a subtraction. So we're going to change that to addition and change the sign of next. So we're going to put in 987 with our decimal and then 1, 3. And then we're going to add the negative, which is going to be 856.22. All right, and they're different signs, so we're going to subtract. So 3 minus 2 is 1. We can't take 2 from 1, so we're going to borrow from the 6 and add the 10 over here. So 11 minus 2 is 9. 6 minus 6 is 0. 8 minus 5 is 3. And 9 minus 8 is 1. And our absolute value is the positive, so it stays positive because 987 is further away from 0 than 856. All right, here we've got 456.77. And then we're going to put the 9 so we line it up right. And the 8. Change the minus to a plus, change the sign of next. So that is also plus a negative. 7, opposite subtract, so different sign subtract. So 7 minus 0 is 7. We can't take 9 from 7, so we borrow from the 6 and make it a 5 and change that to 17. And 17 minus 9 is 8. We can't take 9 from 5, so we borrow from there and make that 15. 15 minus 9 is 6. Put our decimal there. Can't take 8 from 4, so borrow from the 4 and add the 10. 14 minus 8 is 6. And then we bring down the 3. And the 456 has the biggest absolute value, so it stays 366.87. What part of the process for adding and subtracting decimals will still apply when you include positive and negative decimals? Adding and subtracting like a place value will still apply whether or not values are negative or positive. So we're going to put adding and subtracting. Its place values. Whether or not the values are positive or negative. So adding and subtracting its place values, whether or not the values are positive or negative. That's going to still apply. All right, adding positive and negative decimals. The process and algorithm applies to adding both positive and negative decimals. If the signs are the same, add and use the sign. If the signs are different, subtract and take the sign of the number with the largest absolute value. So over here we did 3.5 plus a negative 6.5. So if we come here, 3.5, and subtract a negative 3.0, the difference there is 6.5. And then here is here is 3.5, and here is a negative 3.0. All right, down here on the number line, a negative 3.7 plus 4. So, here you go to a negative 3.7. And then up here, you go 4. Just a little bit past that. Different signs subtract. So 4 minus 3.7 is 0.3. And then you keep the sign with the largest absolute value, which is 4, so it stays 0.3. Over here, you go to 2.5. And then we're going to add a negative 3.3. So we come back this way, just before the 1. Different sign subtract. So 3.3 minus 2.5. 3.3 minus 2.5. Borrow from there, make that a 13. And 13 minus 5 is 8. So we put a 0.8. The negative 3.3 has the largest absolute value, so that's negative. All right, here, it's different sign subtract. So you've got 10.7 minus 2.5. 7 minus 5 is 2. Can't take 2 from 0, so you borrow from it. 10 minus 2 is 8, so you have 8.2. 10.7 is the largest absolute value, so you stay positive. 8.2 plus a negative 17.6, different sign subtract. So 17.6 subtract 8.2. 6 minus 2 is 4. Can't take 8 from 7, so you borrow that. 17 minus 8 is 9. That's 9.4. 17.6 has the largest absolute value, so it's negative. 9.0 plus a negative 7.4, you're subtracting. Change the 9 to an 8, and 0 to a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 8 minus 7 is 1. So it's 1.6, and 9 has the largest absolute value, so it stays positive. Use the cards below to create the equivalent expressions using the additive inverse, and then solve the problems to determine the solution. So here's our cards. We're going to create card A. What's card A's answer? So we have change the minus to a plus, change the sign of next. So we have their different signs. 5.78 minus 3.78. 8 minus 8 is 0. 7 minus 7 is 0. 5 minus 3 is 2. So we have 2. And it's going to be a negative 2 because 5.78 has the largest absolute value. Okay. B, this is A. B, we have change the minus to a plus, change the sign of next. They're different, so we're going to subtract. 8.75, sorry guys, there you go. 8.75 minus 7.5. 5 minus 0, 0. 7 minus 5 is 2. Decimal 8 minus 7 is 1. That's also a negative because 8.75 has the largest absolute value. And then C, change a minus to a plus, change the sign of next. That's also a different sign, so we subtract. So 20.4 minus 8.6. You can't take 6 from 4, so we have to come all the way over here to the 2 and borrow. And then move over. 14 minus 6 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. And then bring down the 1. And 20, they're both 20 has the largest absolute value, so it stays positive. And then D, change a minus to a plus, change the sign of next. They're the same sign, so we add them. Negative and a negative. It's 12, carry my 1. It's 5.2. We keep the negative. All right, now we have to create the opposite to go with them. So to create the opposite, we would take what we've done here. So A and H. So A, we're going to put 3.78 plus a negative 5.78. And I created the opposite here. So you would just take that and then create the opposite. And that gives us 2, a negative 2. All right. Then B goes with E. So we got 7.5 plus a negative 8.75. And that gives us a negative 1.2. C goes with G. So we got a negative 8.6 plus positive 20.4. And that gives us 11.8. And then D goes with F, which would be a negative 0.6 plus a negative 4.6. And that gives us a negative 5.2. All right, let's practice applying the decimals in the situations below. Virgil borrowed $800 from his grandparents to start a lawn mowing business in his neighborhood. After mowing lawns for a month and paying his expenses, he was able to pay them $188.56. How much does Virgil still owe in his grandparents? So he borrowed $800 and he paid back $188.56. What you need to know is how much does he still owe? How much he still owes. Let's plan that. So he borrowed 800 and he paid back 188, and paid back means we're taking away from what he owes, 56. So we're going to subtract. 6 can't take from 0, so we've got to come over here and borrow all the way across. 10 minus 6 is 4. 9 minus 5 is 4. 9 minus 8 is 1. 9 minus 8 is 1. 7 minus 1 is 6. So he still owes $611.44. It's still owed. All right, let's look at the next example. The water level in the Colorado River is 2.55 meters below average. A large rainfall caused the water level to rise 0.8 meters. What is the water level after the rainfall? So what you know, it is 2.55 below average. And the water level rose 0.8. So the level went up. What we need to know is what's the water level now? So to do that, we do the 255 plus the 0.8, and we'll add a 0. 5 plus 0 is 5. 5 plus 8 is 12. Carry my 1. It's 13. My bad. 8 plus 5 is 13. That's a negative, guys. I just see that's below average. It's below average. So let's mark this out. Let's do this. Negative 2.5 plus 0.8. Different signs means we've got to subtract. So 5 minus 0 is 5. Borrow from here, make that a 15. That's a 7, and then a 1. And then the 2.5 is negative, so that sign stays negative. Sorry about that, guys. That does say below right there.